Hello and welcome back to the Elite Football Show. My name is Haider and I'm your host as usual today. Today is Monday. It is deadline day. As a United fan, it's pretty crazy, frustrating. But I just want to talk about something more positive. So I've got Simon Edwards here, who's a South American football journalist and expert. He's going to talk to me today about Pellistri and Cavani. So Simon, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today? You must be very busy.
Yeah. I've just got off an Everton podcast actually. So yeah. I've got some calls later, but yeah, I'm good. Been busy today.
Brilliant. Look, let's just jump straight into it and let's talk about Cavani. Cavani seemingly is at Carrington having his medical. I believe I spoke to someone today. He said it's going to be probably announced with Telles in a couple of hours. We could probably talk about Telles as well, actually, because obviously he's Brazilian. But let's start with Cavani and lots of talk of whether he's going to be another Falcao or whether he's going to be a Zlatan. Look, there's two complete extremes here. And for me, I just think it's a little bit harsh when he hasn't even kicked a ball yet. But are there any concerns for United fans regarding Cavani's ability still? Because he was injured last season with that hip injury and he didn't look the same when he went back. So was there a general consensus from PSG that he was past his best?
No, look, I think PSG fans liked him up until the last minute. And I think what you're getting is someone who's very hungry. He's powerful. He's quick. He's quick to pounce on a chance. He'll get a lot of shots off on goal. At times, his composure has been slightly questioned, but I think he's a player who creates so many chances. He'll take the minutes. He'll get 2 chances and get 2 goals. He'll find a way to dig out 3 or 4 good chances on goals per game. Strikes the ball with power. Has got some good pace. Is hungry. Can attack across. So I think you take a very slight risk with him, but I think he's good. I think Falcao was different. Falcao was injured when he arrived at Man United. He spent months trying to get back for the World Cup, wasn't able to do it, and has never had the same pace since. I think Cavani, in terms of his level as an athlete, he's quicker than Falcao. He's more explosive than Falcao. I think the question with Cavani is if he isn't guaranteed first team minutes every game, can he get that momentum to get those goals? But I think he's exciting and he's dangerous and he will always make things happen in and around the box.
Yeah, fantastic assessment. What I will ask you is, I've seen him play a lot of times, and I think he's a fantastic player. Especially in his peak, he was very underrated at Napoli, and then obviously went to PSG. And people look down on it because it is PSG. You know, they perceive the league to be a lot less competitive than other leagues. But something I did notice that he is versatile, isn't he? He can play across that front three, and with United seemingly not going to get Jadon Sancho, could you see him interchanging a lot, or even starting on that right wing?
Potentially. I think maybe at 33 you want to keep him closer to goal, perhaps. I think he's a great athlete and he's had a couple of injuries, but I think probably you want to keep him closer to goal. He can do the job. He'll be fine. It just depends how much distance you want him to cover, because really what you want with Cavani is you want someone in and around the box, either drawing players to him to set something up or getting the shot of himself. So you really want him to be a player defenders are worried about for 90 minutes. And I think that's where he's most effective. You know, if you've seen for Uruguay at times, they've just left him and Suarez up front and kept 8 players behind the ball and then played it long. And those 2 between them have worked on opening with the pace and the movement and the very tidy control on the ball. So I think he can do a number of roles, but I think ideally you want him as close to goal for as much of the game as possible.
Yeah, I agree with that. I expect him to challenge Martial very heavily for that starting position. I think what United are lacking is a proper number 9. Martial's brilliant at taking the ball to feet, but is Cavani someone who's got excellent movement? Do you think he's someone who can play on the last man? Because if you look at what's behind him, potentially you can get Pogba and Bruno back into top form. He could score a lot of goals, couldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, he's not the kind of player who'll want a 40-yard long pass to run onto, but he's explosive over 5 or 10 yards and his movement's very good. So he'll peel off the defender and look for the little pass around the corner, get one touch, and he'll immediately fire off the shot. So I think you're not going to be looking for someone to make a Jamie Vardy style run from the halfway line in behind. But if you're just at the edge of the penalty area, he's as good as they come in terms of finding that little bit of space, that little bit of opening to receive the ball and get a shot off quickly. So I imagine he'll get a lot of shots on goal. He'll miss some. He might miss a few of the easier ones, but he'll fire in some of the more difficult ones, I would expect. And again, in terms of PSG, of course, PSG are a team that's dominant. But we've seen a lot of strikers who've gone there and struggled. And we've seen at times they brought in the next big thing, and then they've immediately wanted Cavani back in the first team. So, I think his record across European football is very, very positive wherever he's been, and he's been loved by the fans. So, I think maybe he's not a player you build around for 2 years. He's not the solution long term, but in the look at the short-term Man United number 9s they brought in the past, a bit of a Henrik Larsson maybe.
Yeah, that's one that always stands out.
I can maybe see him fitting that role for a year or so.
God, Larson was brilliant. I remember, when was that? 2007 season. I was only 12. So, yeah, I remember getting the Larson shirt. I thought it was fantastic. I actually looked the other day. Larson only scored 3 or 4 goals. But the way the way I remember it and the way people remember it is he was a catalyst. He came up front with Wayne Rooney and he was fantastic. But a few more questions on Cavani. One, what's his attitude like? Because he's left in fairly acrimonious circumstances from PSG. I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true or not, you can correct me, but he is actually really excited to play against PSG in the Champions League so he can get one over them. Is he someone with a good attitude? Is he someone that Solskjaer can turn around to? Because it's a very young squad and say, look, this is a guy who's got pedigree. He's got, he's got a great attitude. He's great for the young players around him.
I think he's got some grumbles and frustrations with PSG. He was never given the importance. They always had the new shiny thing coming in, and they kind of took Cavani a little bit for granted at times. And you understand when you have all that money, you want the next big thing, but he always retained an important place in that side, despite kind of being secondary. They brought in the newest guy, taking Cavani off penalties, taking Cavani off this, making someone else more important. But Cavani stuck around and was the leading scorer for them across that period. Has been, great in terms of goals, has been a huge fan favorite. So when he left, they agreed to release him, and then they wanted to bring him back for a few games, and he wasn't particularly happy with that situation. So, you can kind of understand, but in terms of his attitude, like, he's a mature guy, he's an educated guy, he's a leader in terms of his role for Uruguay. I think he's going to be a good influence. He's got some of that Uruguayan spirit, that Uruguayan toughness, but then he's also quick and elegant as well. So I think you're going to get a player who, as you say, a good role model for the side, a good example. And some of these, someone like Mason Greenwood coming through, someone who has that experience. Greenwood obviously is a great finisher and has some of the qualities in terms of getting that shot off quickly. I think he'll also be a good influence on someone like Greenwood in terms of his movement, in terms of how to get the best out of the skill set he has. Because I think that's the thing with Cavani. He's always been a good player, but I think he's in the mold of someone like Ronaldo, who's really got the most out of the talent they have, in terms of being smart, being tenacious with their movement, all that kind of stuff. Taking the minimum amount of touches to get the shot off. So he'll miss some chances. That's the one area perhaps he's not as clinical as he could be. But I think he really gets the most out of the talent he has. And I think he's got a good attitude as well. So it should be a positive influence on the side. Yeah,
I read somewhere that I think he get 1 in 5 chances. I don't know if that's true. That sounds a lot of chances to miss. But one more thing on him. Would you say look, there's a lot of people saying he's just coming for the money because he didn't get a Benfica move, didn't get the Atletico move. Is there a maybe a sense of caution from United fans that we weren't necessarily first choice, and secondly, like, would he be able to adapt and settle in Manchester? It's very different to Paris. Manchester has its charm, I love Manchester, but it's no Paris, is it? It's no Milan. It's no
I would say, look, he's coming from players who grew up in South America are tough. And like, there's obviously, you have some showboating guys, Neymar, these guys, but Cavani grew up, when he goes back to Uruguay, he rides horses and has barbecue, and he's a man. He's cutting down trees and stuff. He's a tough guy. He's a man's man, isn't he? Yeah, exactly. So I think he can manage a bit of November drizzle or whatever. This is the thing with South Americans. He's played at 4,000 meters above sea level in Bolivia and Peru. You have to be tough, and Uruguay is tough as well. So I wouldn't worry about that. In terms of motivated by money, now look, obviously money's a factor. This is a job. People, they got to pay the bills. They've got to make the most out of their career. But no, I wouldn't worry. As I say, I think his attitude is great. He's not the kind of guy who will accept failure. So he's not going to go to Manchester United and just take, the first couple of weeks don't go well. He'll just sit on the bench and go, yeah, that's all right. I'll take my 230 grand a week, and I'll be happy. Like he's a proud, tough Uruguayan. So he's gonna get stuck in and he's gonna give it his all. I don't think you'll have to worry about him putting in a good shift or a good effort. If the concern, as I say, if he gets on a bit of a bad run, the goals don't start flying in, then that's maybe the concern. But in terms of his overall contribution, his work rate, I think you'll have no issues with Cavani. He's a model professional in many ways.
That's brilliant. I'm actually very excited. I'm one of the ones who are more positive on this. I look at that forward line, as we said earlier. Look, Mason Greenwood can learn from him. It's very, very young, so I think he's going to be a great signing. But let's quickly talk about Telles before we go into Pellistri. But look, Telles looks like he's joining as well. Something about Cavani is he is good in the air, and Telles is a good crosser of the ball. So what's the general sort of, I guess, overview of Telles as a player? And do you think he's going to settle in the Premier League well? Because there are defensive concerns, I would say, and it's not exactly as if United have the most watertight defense, as we saw the other day. So do you think Telles is going to be a good addition to United?
Yeah, I think it's all right. He's a good attacking fullback. I mean, obviously playing in Porto, you can do a lot more attacking than defending. But I think he's got a good engine. He's good technically. He's been involved with Brazil briefly. I think it's a fairly safe signing. I can't see a hugely high risk. He's good technically. He gets up and down all game. He can play anywhere along the left, but he's mostly an attacking left back. So I think he'll be a useful addition. I mean, there's a time and a place. Like we'll see how he settles, but he's going to be able to contribute, across the left-hand side, getting forward. He's a good player. He's a good, solid player. He's technically strong. I think it makes sense. There's a little bit of a risk there, but he's been playing regularly in Europe, so it should be okay.
Yeah, I think for the price, United probably would have been crazy to not at least look at the option. And then you look at the way Luke Shaw played. I think United have probably done some good business there. Let's move on to Facundo Pellistri. And look, he's someone that last time, remember, we were on All for United, you did mention him, and you did say that. I think I asked you the question about him. You did say, yeah, he's a real talent. Obviously, he's young. United have looked at him. It looks like United. Well, you can tell the listeners. Are United close to signing him?
Yeah, I think it's done. I think by the time this goes out, it should be done because he did a medical over the weekend. He's got an EU passport. He's got a Spanish passport as well. So there's no issue. Man United have paid the £8 million release clause. So it looks like it's all done, just sorting out contract details, and I don't imagine there's any issue there. So yeah, it's a great signing. Look, he's an interesting one. I've seen a lot of poor reporting in the UK. Like in terms of quickness, he's not powerful. He's not explosively quick, but he glides. He's quick and he's elegant and he's sharp. He can play anywhere. I don't know where his final position will be. He's often played on the right wing, but as on the right midfield in a 4-4-2. But he'll always drift inside. He's not the kind of player to go on the outside and whip in across. He'll come inside and knit things together. He doesn't have a great attacking output so far in terms of goals or assists. But what he does is he makes things happen. He can pick up the ball on the halfway line and drift past 3 or 4 players. In terms of style, now, not in terms of ability, let's not get carried away.
Yeah, I want to know. This is the question I wanted to ask you. That was actually my next question. Who would you compare him stylistically to? Just to say, this is not Simon saying he is this player right now. So before anyone misquotes it, because this has happened all the time, Simon, on podcasts, and it annoys me because I said something similar the other day and it got completely taken out of context. I wasn't saying someone is like Messi. I said stylistically he's similar to Messi. So go on, Simon.
That's exactly what I was going. Stylistically, he's similar to Messi because he's fairly short, but he glides. He doesn't have great powerful sprints. He's not going to knock the ball 20 yards in front of him and chase it. He's not going to try and go on the outside and whip it across. He's always going to come inside. And he's always going to draw pressure and play smart passes. He's a very intelligent player. He's very elegant, very technically strong, can skip past defenders easily, can pick a really nice pass. But he's the kind of, so he could become a box-to-box number 8. again, he plays for Peñarol. He's Uruguayan. He gets stuck in. He'll do the defensive work, despite the fact he's not particularly strong or robust. He'll get stuck in as well. But he could become a number 8. He could be a number 10. He could play on either wing. He's a kind of whole player. He'll find space. He's very good at drifting inside or drifting off his marker and getting 5 yards of space, and then playing a 1-2 or drawing defenders. So he's a player who always makes things happen. He moves quickly on the ball. So he's a dynamic kind of playmaker. He's not the kind of player to sit back and then clip a pass round and then watch it and, smoke a cigarette or whatever. He's a player who's always passing and moving and is always constantly moving, constantly
very busy.
Absolutely. So while his numbers in terms of goals and assists are quite low, the contributions to goals are quite high, because he'll draw 3 players, play it off simple, and then they'll have the chance to put in someone for the score. So he's very good at drawing pressure. He's very good at winning fouls. He's very difficult to stop. And he's very elegant, smooth, just constantly gliding around the pitch. So I think he'll do well. I think he'll do well.
Very interesting. I mean, sort of breaking down that price. Yes, he's young. What is he? 18 years old? Am I right? 18? Yeah. Looking at the price, £8 million. That looks pretty reasonable. I mean, are United actually are they buying for the future? Because I think, for me, I don't think he comes straight in, but you never know. United don't have that many options. If you're looking at some of the players they're buying, if Amad Traore comes from Atalanta as well, and obviously if Daniel James leaves, there is space in that squad for possibly him to play a lot of minutes. So is it him coming in for the first team? Is he going to go to the under-23s, or could you see him going out on loan?
Any of the 3. I think probably U23s, and then getting on the bench, and then I could see by the end of the year him getting on the bench and getting some minutes, because I think he's really interesting. Fearless, very mature, takes control of a game. I think if he comes on, you'll immediately notice. He's not someone who's going to stand on the touchline with his hand in the air hoping to get a diagonal pass. He will come inside and make the game happen. So wherever you play him, you'll find him in behind the striker very quickly. He'll do his job. He'll get back defensively and he'll cover the space. He works very hard. He's very collective in his play. But what he'll want to do is he'll want to drift inside and play some 1-2s. And I think you can see him with the likes of Pogba or Bruno. You can see him playing some passes and then drifting in front of them and then looking to work off the number 9. So I think if he gets minutes and plays, you'll immediately notice. And I think he's a great bit of business. And having the EU passport as well obviously makes it possible, makes it doable, and it also alleviates any problems. So Man United have the full range of options in terms of his development because of that EU passport, and they can do what they want. But I would like to see him immediately playing the U23s, given an important role, and then hopefully get on the bench, get off, and get a chance to show what he can do a couple of times before Christmas. I think that'd be a good development for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the EU passport's massive, isn't it? Because otherwise, this still wouldn't been able to get done with it. Or that's when last time you spoke that's why so many go to Europe, or let's say Portugal first, because you just can't get the work permits, isn't it? But let's move on. This is non-United. I just want to get your thoughts, because I know last time you were on All for United, we were talking about James Rodriguez. I'm assuming that's what you spoke about on that Everton podcast. But wow, I mean, I said to you as well. I remember I asked you the question. I said, obviously, James, I'd love him at United, but you said at the time it'd be good for him to go somewhere like Everton where he can be the main man. Obviously, Carlo's there as well, and he's just looked phenomenal. He just oozes quality, doesn't he? He's got fantastic quality on the ball. You can tell he's just a cut above the rest. He's settled really, really well. I'm quite surprised because he has played on that right, and I thought he'd play more centrally. I know I said to you, probably if he was in midfield, I mean, that midfield's working really well. In the 2, he probably wouldn't work, whether he plays behind the striker, but he's looking absolutely excellent. So just talk to me about what your assessment of him is so far, and how happy to see him finally looking happy and playing at his great ability that he's got.
Yeah, I mean, Everton are suddenly the biggest team in Colombia. When Everton play, last time I saw Everton play, the top 20 trends in Colombia were all related to Everton. Literally every single.
That's crazy.
Zidane was trending, and Zidane was only trending because it was a lot of Colombians calling him a calvo y puta, having him for not playing James. And there you go, I told you he was going to be your best. Yeah. Or moaning about the commentator, but yeah, Colombia's gone Everton crazy.
Wow.
Everyone, the front page of every newspaper is James in Everton shirt. So it's had a huge impact off the field, but on the field, I mean, the thing about James at Everton for me is he's got like 94% pass completion for a player who never plays short passes. Like every pass is a diagonal to
That's
Richarlison.
ridiculous. That's amazing.
It's the fact that he can see these passes that no one else can see and execute them flawlessly. Not just find his man, but find his man on the foot he wants to receive it, just in front of him. So yeah, and also I think it also puts into question this claim that England's a physical league. You've got to be a great runner. You've got to be quick. You've got to be strong. Because James doesn't run. Like he makes everyone around him run. Like the opposition are chasing him, and he's just taking one perfect touch out of his feet. And
he's
then
lucky he's got Doucouré there, because Doucouré runs for about 4 guys, doesn't he? He's an engine in midfield.
Exactly. So it's been great, and like this is James at his best, and it's been a joy. It's been a joy, and I do think I think that's important to consider, that it puts into question, because, for example, Coutinho, when he was at Inter, they said he's too small, he's not quick enough, he's not athletic enough. Went to Liverpool for almost nothing and left for like a record fee.
150 million, yeah.
And hasn't done anything in Spain. So I think also we can perhaps overcomplicate, these acquisitions for English clubs. They've got to be, Roy Keane to be able to make it in England. If they're good, they're good, basically.
And that also lends towards Pellistri, doesn't it? Because you've got to think then, you're seeing a lot of South Americans do flourish in the Premier League. Look at Richarlison; he's another one. He came from Brazil directly, didn't he, as well? And he's been fantastic for Everton. So this sort of myth, isn't it? That, like you said, you have to be physical, strong. The South Americans struggle in the league. Actually, we're seeing a lot of South Americans flourish, aren't we?
Yeah, and the thing is, like Pellistri plays for Peñarol. Peñarol, whenever a Uruguayan team gets eliminated from the Libertadores, they leave with about 7 red cards. They like to leave their mark on the opponent.
do anything to win, isn't it? That mentality.
Yeah, and if they're not going to win, they're going to let you know they're not particularly happy about losing, right? So, the idea that Pellistri might be worried about the rough marking on a Burnley corner, it's like, mate, he's been elbowed for 6 months in Uruguay. I think he can take a Ben Mee shirt pull or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think Uruguay, for example, in particular, you're signing a couple of Uruguayans. Like they're as tough as they come. They're trained from 10 years old to go and play abroad. No one plays in Uruguay. So they're prepared throughout their lives. They play for the under-15s, the under-17s, the under-20s Uruguayan national team. As soon as they can stand up, they're being prepared to play in Europe, to play abroad. They have that European connection historically, lots of European passports over there as well. So, there are maybe you say a Brazilian, an eccentric Brazilian, or you maybe look at someone from Ecuador, maybe there's not a great track record, but you're signing a Uruguayan, you're signing a guy as tough as they come, who will put up with anything and will get stuck in and give you 100%. So there's no concern there for me.
I mean, you just look at Luis Suarez. He was, he was a fighter, wasn't he? And he just completely took to the Premier League. One last question, Simon. You see, obviously, Cavani's also Uruguayan. Does this move also make sense? I know it sounds a bit silly, but he's there. Cavani's going to be there as well. That'll help Pellistri settle in. Is that also an angle to look at, that it makes this move makes more sense as well?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. These are people. They any Spanish speaker is helpful, but I'm sure Cavani and Pellistri will be sharing a mate, will be sharing a barbecue around each other's houses. Hopefully, social distancing or whatever has to be done. Yeah. It'll be great to have Cavani put his arm around Pellistri, and Cavani's going to have respect for this kid. This kid is very, very exciting. Everyone coming out of Uruguay is seemingly a world-class footballer, and Pellistri is one who's particularly caught the headlines as just a really elegant, classy, stylish player. He's not raw pace, he's not raw aggression. He just glides and makes things happen. So he's going to be a fun one to watch. Absolutely.
United haven't had the best sort of track record, I think. Obviously, Diego Forlan. Oh, I absolutely loved him. He didn't really have the best time at United. Obviously, he scored. He made the Scousers cry, so that was great. But no, I'm really excited. Simon, thank you very much. Where can all the listeners find your work? Obviously articles, etc., on more South American players.
Yeah, so mostly World Football Index. We have a podcast on the Libertadores. We have a South American football show where we profile the teams, and also we've had a scouting spotlight series. We have an episode up as well on Pellistri, so I can perhaps share that with you with Tom Robinson and Austin, who are based in focus on Uruguayan football. So I can share that, and that will give you some insight of what you're going to get but it's all good. Basically, it's all good. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Simon. And to all the listeners, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. This should be out probably maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We haven't decided yet. We'll just wait till the transfer deadline just sort of calms down a little bit. But cheers, Simon, and we will see